Hi everyone, TARDIS Guy 123 here, and today I'm going to be doing another Doctor Who DVD review. This time we are of course, as you can see, taking a look at the Krotons, starring Patrick Troughton, and there he is there. And for those of you who don't know, it is his birthday today, or would be, and he would be 95 years old, so 95 years ago today, Patrick Troughton was born, and what a Doctor he is. I say that, of course, assuming that this will go out on the day of recording, which is Wednesday the 25th of March. Not sure if it'll make that deadline, it might have to be Thursday, but anyway, let's take a look at the story itself, the Krotons, which, as you can see there, of course, Patrick Troughton, a Kroton, and Zoe, who plays quite a key role in this story. Then you have some Kroton symbols there. Patrick Troughton years 66 to 69. Now let's take a look at the spine there. You've got Doctor Who, the Krotons, and BBC and 2Entertainment logos. And then on the back, is it going to stand? That's the question. Anyway, can't get to stand, so starring Patrick Troughton, the Krotons by Robert Holmes. This is Robert Holmes' first story for Doctor Who, and it's quite a good start. You know, a lot of people say it's not the best. I agree with them, but nevertheless, you know, it kind of like shows signs of him being a very strong writer, and that's the most important thing about this for me. So anyway, commentary there with none of your regulars, but some quite nice acts in there. I haven't listened to commentary myself, but I don't know, it might be a good one. Second time around, that's a documentary all about the Second Doctor's era, and if you are a Patrick Troughton fan, that is a must to see. Even if you're not fond of the Krotons as a story, I'd say pick this DVD up just for that, and also for the Doctor Who Stories Fraser Hines one. That's also a nice little interview with Fraser Hines, so two very good special features there, and in my opinion quite a good story. I'll get on to my full thoughts on that in a minute, but anyway, first let's take a look at the innards. There you go, you've got your disc, same design as the cover and whatnot, only one disc. And there's your booklet. Let's take a better look at that. Front, inside, so you get quite a long text there for the second time around. And finally in the back you have some more pictures, along with your chapter points. So, what about Krotons themselves? What do I think of the Krotons as a story? Well, if I could get it to stand, I probably can't. Actually, let's just open that up slightly like that. Put it there. You'll never know any different. So anyway, the Krotons as a story, it's, as I said before, it's very good. It's not incredible, but it's a good start, and it shows very solid signs of a good writer in Robert Holmes. Obviously you've got Zoe there, who, as I previously mentioned, plays quite a key role in this, and it very much plays her strengths. It kind of like knows her background. Robert Holmes knows her background, and he includes it in this. He takes that idea of her being a genius and makes it crucial to the story, her being a high brain and whatnot. And it also kind of like doesn't write either her or Jamie as just standard companions. Very much place their characteristics. And as with Jamie, you know, he's not a high brain, he is a primitive, then the power will kill it. Sorry, a little reference to the story there. But, you know, very much it plays his strengths, and instead has him kind of like off on his own, actually. This is very much Doctor and Zoe story, with Jamie kind of like following behind them, quite a distance behind them. You know, the plot seems to have him, when the Doctor and Zoe leave a place, he'll very much go into that place. And you know, that gets a bit repetitive, but nevertheless, you know, it provides some interesting stuff between Jamie and the Krotons. That's some quite nice stuff for him, and kind of like have him saving the Doctor and so without them actually realising it. That was quite a nice scene, and you know, it all comes together very nicely from a character point of view. But what about the non-recurring characters? What about the stories characters, such as Elic, who's played by Philip Maddock, and he is a good character who develops over time. And you know, his story very much has a sense of development about it, because about this society the Doctor, Jamie and Zoe turn up, and suddenly they begin to doubt everything that they once believed. You know, slowly, you know, like a couple of people start to think about it, a couple of people go out into wastelands, a couple of people start meddling with the machines and whatnot, and eventually the whole society is turned on the Krotons, who they once believed were their benefactors, but just the very arrival of the Doctor, Jamie and Zoe, they don't have to convince them. Just their very arrival starts to sow the seeds, and create doubts and whatnot. That's very nice, and you know, that's, once again, as I mentioned before, signs of a good writer in Robert Holmes, and it's great that he stayed on to do so much more for Doctor Who. But what about the Krotons themselves? Well, they're probably just about the most useless monster in Doctor Who's history, even worse than the Quarks. I'll say, they're better written than the Quarks, but from a design standpoint, I mean, just look at those hands. You can't do anything with them. You'll just be going right out in front. Their movement range is about that. They can't really do much with their arms and whatnot, and you very much can tell that it's limited. And when one of them's holding the blaster, it is hilarious. And then also you kind of like get the feeling that very much all this bit was built as one bit, then they just stuck a skirt on down there. You can kind of see it. There's only one real shot when one exits the machine. You can actually see the full skirt, but it does look pretty ridiculous, unfortunately. So again, that's another downside. But as they're written, you know, they're quite good. Their voices are okay. They're a bit humorous. What's it called? As Fraser Hines said, they're kind of like apartheid and whatnot with that South African accent. You know, that's something that he says a lot in the interview with him. So you'll have to check that out to know what on earth I'm going on about, because right now to you it probably sounds like I'm rambling unless you've listened to that documentary. But anyway, you know, obviously the Krotons, it's not the best story. The story itself is rather simple. Some of the design stuff doesn't work. You don't really get the feeling that there's this whole civilization there. You just kind of get the feeling that there's a few villages, because that's all you see, unfortunately. But hey, that's Doctor Who budget for you. There are plot points that work quite well. They're kind of like things introduced early on in the story, which are brought up later in the story, and they're essential. And you don't really think, and you kind of like get that idea that Robert Holmes isn't wasting any bit of dialogue in this. And as I said before, he gets the characters down, and it's just kind of like shows signs of what a good writer he truly was, even that far back. Obviously, he would go on to do much greater stuff, but for now, his first story is incredible. Well, not incredible, but it's good. It's a strong start. It's a solid start. Some people don't like it too much. I can kind of tell where they're coming from, but for me, it's a 7, I guess. It's a good story. It does get rather boring in places, especially the stuff focusing on the Gonds, and nevertheless, good story, I guess. 7, as I said before. Thanks for watching the review of the Krotons, everyone, and I'll see you all next time with the review of Equilibrium. So until then, bye everyone.